Against online censorship Trump's fight against online censorship quickly goes global. Flanked by some of the big tech executives whose companies had suppressed the views of his supporters throughout his predecessor's term, President Trump on January 20 declared the days of such speech policing over. Hours later, the president put action behind his words, signing an executive order prohibiting the federal government from engaging in, facilitating, or funding any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American citizen. The move was celebrated by those who see it as a blow against what they decry as the censorship industrial complex. Others cast the executive order as giving dangerous license to misinformation and disinformation. What is clear is that this is just the latest salvo in an ongoing war over the digital public square, pitting the Trump administration and like-minded Republican congressional allies against not only domestic opponents, but the global counter-disinformation ecosystem. The global speech policing effort is looking like an early target. Trump himself seemed to convey that when he touted his order in a remote address last week to the World Economic Forum in Davos, the elite global conclave had recently declared misinformation and disinformation the leading short-term risk to the globe for the second straight year, underlining their persistent threat to social cohesion and governance by eroding trust and exacerbating divisions within and between nations. 2 days after the inauguration, Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, released the, quote, priorities and mission of the second Trump administration's Department of State. The short document included the charge that Foggy Bottom must stop censorship and suppression of information, Rubio continued. The State Department's efforts to combat has expanded and fundamentally changed since the Cold War era and must reprioritize truth. The State Department I lead will support and defend Americans' right to free speech, terminating any programs that in any way lead to censoring the American people. It is not yet known whether and to what extent Rubio's approach will affect the reorganized successor to the State Department's recently shuttered Global Engagement Center, whose efforts defenders had called essential to combating foreign propaganda. Critics have dismissed the reorganization of an office that funded entities targeting disfavored domestic speech as an effort to simply rebrand and persist. The State Department did not respond to Real Clear Politics investigation inquiries in connection with this story. Okay, so that's all I'm going to leave on that. So it's important. It's important to see that Trump is leading with this. He was championing free speech before an elite conclave that calls misinformation and disinformation a top global threat. So just like the president of Argentina is taking on Davos, so is Trump, because they're saying misinformation is a global threat, and he's going the opposite, saying, we need to stop censorship. And Rubio, as Secretary of State, is saying that he will. So let me also quickly share his executive order. I think it's great to look at these orders directly. Let me see. Here it is. Let me share it with you. Here's Trump's executive order. And let's look at the first paragraph. From the White House, presidential action, ending the weaponization of the federal government. Executive order, January 20th, 2025, signed the day of his inauguration. But the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America and Section 301 of Title III United States Code is hereby ordered as follows. Here's the purpose. The American people have witnessed the previous administration engage in a systematic campaign against its perceived political opponents, weaponizing the legal force of numerous federal law enforcement agencies and the intelligence community against those perceived political opponents in the form of investigations, prosecutions, civil enforcement actions, and other related actions. These actions appear oriented more toward inflicting political pain than toward pursuing actual justice or legitimate governmental objectives. Many of these activities appear to be inconsistent with the Constitution and or the laws of the United States, including those activities directed at parents protesting at school board meetings, Americans who spoke out against the previous administration's actions, and Americans who were simply exercising constitutionally protected rights. So he's executive order. This is going to be a major a major front in his battle, all right, in his battle to restore what Americans hold dear. And of course, it's consistent with Musk's position too. All right, so we're going to end with Victor Davis Hanson, and it's also about Trump's speech to the people at Davos. He did it via satellite, and I think it's a great way to end because Victor Davis Hanson is always somebody that we love to look at and to listen to. And this will wrap up the whole day, the whole theme. And I think it's really refreshing. It's refreshing to think that, as the president of Argentina said, he's not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone. The United States isn't alone in this movement, and that gives us more power. And we also can see how the relationship with China and Russia can really begin to thaw and deepen in a positive way, which will help with our negotiation with Iran and stopping them from getting a bomb. Which, of course, the prospect of the people of the Middle East living in peace increases, especially our closest ally, Israel, and stopping having the hostages released and stopping the war. So all this is really moving in the sand. In the mind of the Finnish president, that Trump's major objective is peace. He wants peace, and he wants America to remain a superpower. And can we disagree with that? We want peace, and we want America to remain as a superpower.